All right, Pat, we move on to the tight ends. And we were talking about this week on our Buckeyes Live show, and the litany and legacy of Ohio State tight ends is not nearly as strong as maybe it is in some positions, but it's still a wealth of talent that's gone on to the NFL. But in terms of being targets and putting up big numbers at the collegiate level, the NFL scouts can survey the talent and still move them on to the next level, but they're not approaching NFL locker rooms with 50 and 60 catches per year. That's just not been the history of Ohio State football. So again, we've got another group of talented tight ends, and we'll see how much they get the football, but it's being talked about at least getting them the football and being more active here in the spring.
Another spring, another session of talking about tight ends catching footballs. Though this year may be, if there is a year for it to happen, it may be this year, because Jeremy Ruckert, who will be a senior this year, came to Ohio State, really highly recruited, and as a wide receiver in high school. I mean, it was known that he was going to play tight end once he got to the college level because of his size and just how he's built. But he played wide receiver in New York, and had to work on the blocking aspects a lot when he first got to Ohio State. And now Kevin Wilson has called him maybe the most complete tight end in the country heading into next season. Obviously, Kevin Wilson a little biased there, but I think it's certainly a conversation. He can do it all, and you saw in bits and pieces last year when Jeremy Ruckert made some very big plays catching the ball. I believe it was against Penn State. He had a couple touchdowns, and then in the college football playoff as well against Clemson, had the big catch against Alabama that got the Buckeyes down into the red zone, took that big hit, still held on to the ball. So he's a talented pass catcher. And, I think Ohio State's going to use that. The issue is you have all these receivers, when Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are out there making plays, if you're Justin Fields, for example, are you going to those guys, or are you going to go to a tight end? A lot of times you go to the receiver. So, I think that has taken away from them a little bit. But blocking is a big part of what they do, and it's a big part of the offense. And Ohio State has done so well in 12 personnel with two tight ends, one running back, that's something that they would like to continue to do. But, and that's another thing that came up this week, is you have to have that second tight end, and Jeremy Ruckert was that to Luke Farrell last year. The guy who seems to be the most likely to take that job is Cade Stover, who is a year into a position change, moving from linebacker, where he played as a freshman a few years ago, to tight end. There was a decent amount of buzz around Cade Stover at this time last year. I remember the first day of spring practice, we got to go and watch, and he made a couple nice catches. And he'd literally been playing the position for a couple months. He said when we talked to him this week that the biggest thing for him, because he played linebacker, he was used to contact and blocking and things like, or getting off blocks, but he likes that contact. He said the biggest thing for him was the route running, the receiving aspect of it. So he feels like he's made strides in that aspect. His footwork as a blocker is better. So if Ohio State's going to use these two tight end sets that have been really successful, those could be your two guys. And then they have some others, Mitch Rossi, who's much more of a blocking tight end. Joe Royer is a young guy who is similar to Jeremy Ruckert when he first arrived, much more of a receiver, has got to put on weight. I don't know how much you see him this year. Corey Rayu is a guy who transferred to Ohio State, is a walk-on, but another guy who could kind of do some fullback tight end type of responsibilities. He described himself as a hand in the ground, close to the goal line type of guy. So a lot of options for Ohio State at tight end. Again, I think if there's going to be a receiving threat to come out of it, it's definitely going to be Jeremy Ruckert. But what these guys do is really important to the offense when it comes to the blocking stuff, and even sometimes the route running, which opens stuff up for one of the receivers, things like that. But with a young quarterback, I could certainly see more balls going to the tight end, kind of as that safety blanket, depending on the scheme of the play and whatnot.
The Buckeyes continue spring workouts and headed toward the spring game. We got Pat Murphy on the line from Bucknuts 247 Sports. So again, join him over there as he cranks out Ohio State football coverage with the rest of the staff there at Bucknuts on a daily basis. Pat, we always appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely. Thanks.